Well, hello everyone. Thanks so much for joining us yet again for another webinar. I'm so glad to be able to do this in the early part of Feb because we're trying to do two this month. So the next one's gonna be even better. I'm gonna tell you more about it as we go. Someone's raising their hand in the audience. I would recommend you use the chat if you wanna maybe talk to me. You can just directly chat with me, or if you have any question, feel free to put it in the Q&A section, and I'd be happy to answer it either live or I'll try and address it, after I'm done with the presentation. Well, without further ado, thanks so much for waiting. I hope you're also a fan of Red Hot Chili Peppers like I am. I don't know if anybody calls them Red Hot Chili Peppers anymore, mostly RHCP. But yeah, I hope everybody else enjoyed that song as much as I did. Well, okay, so we picked this topic after a lot of thought. We've covered actually a lot of very interesting areas over the last few webinars, and you can please go to our website and check some of those out. But generally speaking, the intent was to focus purely on mobile with the hundreds of customers that we work with. A large part of the experimentation that we do for them and the work that we do with conversion rate optimization is focused on mobile because a lot of their traffic is on mobile, number one. Number two, a lot of the paid traffic is on mobile. Click-through rates on mobile are pretty high. So, when you are also, I'm sure you're analyzing your ad spends, device broken down by device, and you're analyzing other data points about your business broken down by device as well. And what we see is mobile is getting the lion's share of traffic across the board for almost all industries, except for a few here and there. In fact, we work with clients in a few more unconventional industries or specific industries, say, for example, hardware or extremely high value industrial products. And even for them, interestingly, while desktop traffic is high, mobile is still higher. And it puzzles us and them as well, because what we've realized is that a lot of the discovery happens on mobile, but conversions happen on desktop. And so the experiences have to tie in together well. And that's what I think the industry has tried their best to do with what is called responsive web experience, which I'm not a big fan of. So that's going to be one big takeaway. I'm going to talk a little bit more about why I said that. But generally speaking, conversion rates on mobile are about half of what they are on desktop, or maybe less for some unfortunate businesses. So we wanted to focus purely on some ideas. I have about 30 of these ideas. I'll spend ideally a minute or less than a minute probably on some of these. And what I want you to do is each of those ideas we have tried and pull up visual examples. So instead of jumping from one tab to another, all the examples will be on the screen itself. And I'm going to walk you through them in as much detail as possible and add a lot of context that I can add given our experience of optimizing more than 800 e-commerce sites, all of them upwards of about seven figures, and most of them converting significantly better than what they were converting before they started working with us. So I'm going to jump right in. As I said, questions in the chat or in the Q&A section. I'll try and address them as I'm talking. Otherwise, I'll take them up at the end. I will give you enough time at the end to ask me questions. But yes, let's jump right in. Let's jump into the amazing examples we've been able to line up for you all. So we want to kind of cadence the entire conversation into four parts. Obviously, home, category, product, checkout flow. That's not the general journey your customers take. So that's the first thing we want to begin with. But we'll still start with home and then understand what are the things that we can learn from some of the examples that we have here. Very, very simple idea. Don't limit your categories to the boring tree of categories that you have. For example, if you're into fashion and you have men and women as your two wide categories, maybe kids and baby, don't limit your categorization to that alone. So in this case, for example, the navigation layer also adds shoes, handbags, and accessories and jewelry. And then there is a sale and clearance. So the category navigation is being used smartly. You're not essentially just replicating, whatever your categories are and just putting them in the form of a list on mobile. That's not the idea. You have to put more thought. And in this case, for example, the brand is trying to bring more attention to the top 4 or 5 categories that drive business for them. Number one. Number two, it could be an experiment as well. It's a very interesting experiment. What if I have a lot of homepage traffic and I'm trying to give them a next step, give them an obvious next step, give them a few choices to make, in terms of where they want to go from here. And obviously, we're trying to make that whole thing easy by adding a few categories apart from your general breakdown of the way you're doing things. I'll give you another example. For example, if you are an automotive parts website, we work with a few of those. Or if you're a bags website, instead of just having briefcases, backpacks, and duffels, you could also have a sale and clearance, and you could also have our most selling handbag. That's it. Single bag, you're sending people to a single product, which is your most selling product. And there's no harm in doing that. There's no harm in experimenting with that. So you're kind of giving them more options and you're thoughtful about it. So that's really what the intent is here. Don't limit your categorization to, and this applies to both mobile and desktop. But in this case, we're going to focus a lot on mobile, of course. The next one we want to talk about is highlighting popular subcategories. So in this case, I think the category navigation has been used a lot better because some subcategories are also being highlighted. We've actually run A/B tests related to this, spent time on ensuring that the category options that are visible to people are broken down in several different ways. Do you want to show just the meta categories? Do you want to show the subcategories, etc.? And you wouldn't believe it, but the problem with the problem with a fully digital shopping experience on a small screen is that people. So there are two problems. The first is the problem with the user. Everybody has the attention span of a goldfish, so that's one problem. The second problem is that you have only so much you can show the user at a time. So you can either use that as a problem as an opportunity and make sure that you use it well. So in this case, for example, there's so much happening on the screen. There's a men and women section. So I have a wider categorization. Below that, I have spotlight, featured, and current converting. So there's three breakdowns between the new. And then if I close the new option, then there are other categories that I can see. So it's kind of instant how I can go deeper into the experience without having to spend, countless minutes, countless seconds on finding what's next for me. It's similar to when you walk into a big box store. And one of the things that most people do is they look up because they know the categories of the store are kind of laid out that way. So you want to go to electronics, you start walking in that direction instantly. So imagine how much information you're able to consume visually the moment you walk into a big box store. It's instant, right? You know exactly where to walk and you start in that direction. So it's either the product that kind of helps you make that decision, or it's the visual categorization. We're trying to achieve, and you can't get there, but we're trying to be as close to that as possible. The next one is what's happening here is we are actually, instead of forcing people into a subcategory, we are allowing them to go to a mega category. And I'll show you what value that adds in the next example after this. So in this case, I'm within furniture, and I'm not mandated to choose living room, bedroom, dining, patio, etc., etc. I'll give you an example. We have a living room, a study, and then we have another small, formal living room. So there are it's kind of an odd layout we are living in here. But the thing is that what we wanted the other day was not really living room furniture. So it was more of what you would call a study furniture, but we wanted it to be a certain size. So now I'm stuck, right? So now it's not study, but it's not living room as well. I just want to see all the different types of tables you have, for example, right? And there's no way for me to do that. So I should be able to go to the larger category without a problem. And when I do that, once I've chosen to go to the larger category, I'll skip a couple of examples here, or actually come back to this. Once I've done that, I can then show the category page in a way that it allows me to narrow down further, right? So I'll come back and connect the dots with this, but this is another very interesting and obvious example. Some interesting e-commerce themes are also doing this by default now, but this is an experiment we've run for a lot of our customers. And my advice to you when you see this is don't just go and do it. Because normally when I show this to customers, and we do free audits. So just for your knowledge, for businesses that qualify, we sit down with you 30 minutes and do a full tear down of your site for free. We don't charge you for it. So we are happy to do that for you as well. If you're interested, we'll reach out. But the thing is, we give them ideas and then they start and go implementing them. And that's not how it works. That's not how it normally works or should work. So in this case, for example, what I'm proposing is a categories carousel. Very simple idea. But what I feel is important when you execute this is that you pick the right way of doing it. For example, we have a health supplement customer where they have magnesium and a few other different types of minerals that you can buy supplements for. And instead of breaking their website down by these minerals that you can buy, we've broken the categorization down by symptoms. We've also tried to do it by use case. We've tried to do it for businesses that, for example, for fashion, we've done it by weather. We've done it by, so normally it's always, tank top, it's tops, bottoms, or shoes, which is so boring because tops means everything. It means everything, right? It means everything that goes on the top half of your bodies, which means all kinds of clothes. So you can be smart about categorization. And then I always encourage experimentation for this reason. We have a lot of customers that sign up with us because they want to aggressively experiment. But generally speaking, please don't refrain from trying things out, but at the same time, don't just go and implement because then you're just making visual changes on a hunch and you don't have a way to measure if they work for you or not. Moving further, if you're running a discovery quiz of some sort, so I just wanted to bring this in. I know only a few businesses do that, but we brought this point in because we had registrations from a few sites which run quizzes. So whenever you register with us, we take the time to go through your sites. We're not just kind of which is why this whole thing is on a Google Doc because it's manually put together, and we just want to make sure there's depth in the content and not care so much about the way it looks. But I hope it looks good. But I hope I'm doing a good job. So yeah, so we'll wait to hear from you about that till the end. But if you're running a quiz, normally what we see is with quiz or wizard related experiences, businesses don't take the time to adapt them to the mobile experience. I think that's it's kind of a little lazy. So please take the effort, time, invest the money to design it purely for mobile, have a progress bar, and make buttons massive. Make fill the screen up, give people a bold experience. Why? Because you don't want to spoil people for choice and you don't want to make it hard for them. I told you that the attention span is very, very low. So they're not going to spend time zooming in, fiddling with a small button. Imagine the amount of user motivation you're expecting to have. It's like, have you ever tried to web check in and pick a seat and pay for a seat on the browser? It's the most painful thing ever, unless of course it's some really nice airline who's probably a new airline maybe. But generally speaking, it's the most painful experience ever if you do it on the browser. Why? Because they're not building for mobile. They are building responsive experiences. They're trying their best, nothing against it, but I'm just saying. So make buttons really big, make them interesting and make them useful. That's when your wizard will actually work. And that same point goes to building out a product selection wizard. I would give you this recommendation not only for mobile, but also for desktop. But generally speaking, the same idea that I gave you about categorization, help people go through a journey so that they find something they like. Okay. I'm going to break away from the script and show you a client experience. So in this case, for example, I'm looking for a screen for my Apple iPhone 14 Pro, and it takes me straight to the product, right? Now, if you're a fashion business, I could say, hey, I'm looking for a top, the occasion, it could be weather, it could be price, it could be size, it could be anything. So you're just taking them to a collection of products or one product and making life easy. So that's really what it is. When one of my best friends runs a massive e-commerce business, and he asked me, I always tell him, build the experience for a 3-year-old and then market it to adults. That's when you have a great shopping experience. The next one is, how you could turn your product or your homepage into a mini catalog. So I encourage you to go and take a look at Novas. They're one of our customers. They're one of the leading companies in the anti-aging space. Some fantastic work that they're doing. Don't do it right now. Stay with me. I'm gonna, go faster although please, if you feel I'm going fast, please let me know in the chat so that I can slow down. I'm happy to slow down. I'm just trying to make sure that I can cover as much as possible because we have 30 points and we're only at 7 so far. So the idea here is use your homepage. So normally when I give a lot of tactical advice to e-commerce businesses, what we end up seeing is a lot of call to actions, products, recommendations. So tactics kind of take precedence over story, over brand. And that's also not right. So you have to have a mix, and you have to be able to tell your story without essentially without giving up on conversion rates. So I encourage you to take a look at this experience. And also, I can confidently tell you that because of the nature product here, they're able to do it. So if this does not apply to your brand, please just scratch it and go to the next advice, right? The next one is using an expanded search box, very simple, and make it sticky. I'm going to skip this point. It's a very simple point. When you scroll through your page, keep search accessible. A very simple insight is visitors that use the search bar, they convert 5 to 8 times better than people who don't. And this is the truth. So I would recommend you, if you have GA4 set up by a professional, they would have set up a report for you that allows you to track people who used search and did not use search. If you don't have a good GA4 setup, first of all, get it. There's no data. It's like driving with the headlights off. So, you have to have data. But generally speaking, encourage people to use search and make it easy for them. And the reason we say that is because most businesses don't have reachability in mind when they are building a mobile experience. Okay. So while I walk you through the next few points, I want you to open the mobile site on your phone. Don't open TikTok or Instagram. Open just the site. Okay. So that we're focused. And now you would see that your menu is going to be on the top left. So you're going to touch that hamburger icon. And so it's a stretch for your hand to kind of do that, because the other hand has your bag or something else when you're on the tray, or maybe you're just eating. Okay. And the most naturally accessible area of your phone has almost nothing. So an example that I wanted to show you is here. So if you see what's happening here, they also have the hamburger icon on the top left, but there's a carousel of categories in the middle. Those are actually subcategories. The categories are on the top under the search bar. The search bar is prominent. And then because you're a new user, repeat user, you can also go and take a look at recently viewed products, which is right at the bottom. And then they're a B2B company. So DK Hardware is a B2B company. They're an old client of ours. And in their case, a lot of people just want a quotation. So they just go and ask for a custom quote. You see how the page is tailored so that it serves the customer of that business. So that's the point we're trying to drive home, is that you need to structure your page with reachability in mind, and not just let it be the mobile experience that came with the theme, so to say. Have an intuitive search. In this case, for example, if I search for shoes for women, I am seeing multiple ways in which, so it's shoes for men, is it sneakers? Do you want them to be stylish, Nike, without lace, different brands, under $500, whatever it is, right? So different ways in which, categories are being shown. And even better experience is something that we've done a long time for our customers, is visualizing search. So the way that we set up search, because we have our own product, is you start searching and results come up and there are filters. So you can run filters in the search results. So it's very interactive. The same point that I said about no boss applies here as well. Don't wait for the footer to talk about the brand. When you talk about your brand and emphasize on the story and emphasize on why you exist and why someone should buy from you, you are doing the biggest service you can do to your customer, because they are actually looking for that information, especially if you're a smaller brand, which they've probably just discovered in the last 2 weeks. They deserve to know your story. And that's actually why they would probably end up buying from you, right? So I don't know why a lot of brands choose keeping the experience transactional as compared to telling them why. I, in fact, was looking at a website today with very high traffic. It was a hot sauce brand. And in their case, they had done a brilliant. So what they had done brilliantly was every product had a story. So there are 3 products. And the homepage did a phenomenal job of not only telling why that hot sauce brand existed, but also each of those. So I'll send that example to you after the webinar. But it was phenomenal. Like they did not give up on telling their story because they were trying to make the experience useful. And because they did that, you are intrigued, and then you click on the product and you want to go to the product page and understand more and then purchase, right? So curiosity plays a role there. And then finally, pop-ups. Everybody hates them, but everybody uses them. Emails are your biggest asset. I'm telling you, going into 2024, third-party cookies are dead. So retargeting ads are going to be all over the place. Number one. Number two, generally speaking, emails and the audience you build, okay, email marketing for bad brands and wherever email marketing is managed poorly, for all of those businesses, email marketing will die this year because Google, Yahoo, all of the gods of email and internet rather are changing the rules, right? So they're changing the rules because they can. So we'll get into that conversation some other day. But the point is that for brands that have been using email, to underestimate the long-term effect of having a massive email list is really shocking because it's the biggest asset you can have as a business. So I strongly recommend you to still collect emails while on mobile. Just keep your pop-ups non-intrusive. Okay, so I also wanted to do some mental math. Assume you are a $50,000 a month brand. Okay, so that's how much money you're making. So you're a small, not too big brand, and about $10,000 out of that is emails. Okay, and you have an email list size of, let's say, 50,000 emails. So each email in your list, essentially, if you oversimplify it, gives you 20 cents a month. You send them promotions, you run workflows or flows or whatever you want to call it. And 20 cents an email is what you make because of your email marketing. If that list grows by 10,000 emails over the next 3 months, if you apply the same 20-cent logic, you have $2,000 more per month in revenue, recurring revenue forever. Now, if you're a larger brand, extrapolate that by 100. That's the kind of impact we're able to see. So we run email marketing for about 100 brands. I'm telling you, there's incredible amounts of money that people can make on email. And I think it's just underrated how well, how people are kind of treating it at the moment. Category page. We won't spend a lot of time here. Analyze your site. You will know that not a lot of people actually spend time on your category pages. I'm just trying to go through there's a long list of names. So I'm trying to see if I know any of the websites or remember where category pages are categorically important. But generally speaking, featuring trust seals is the obvious idea. But the twist I would wanted to give that is do it for your brand. Don't do the boring, easy returns, quality guarantee sort of stuff, right? Do something that is true to your brand. In this case, it's organic, cotton, carbon neutral, and fair trade. That's what they stand for. So they do it that way. But do it. I think do it well. The next is the subcategory. So now I had spoken in idea 4 about sending people directly to categories. The second step to that is making it easier for them to narrow down from there. So if I were to jump from to all furniture, to shopping all furniture, after I've gone there, I should instantly be able to filter or go to the next step. IKEA does a phenomenal job of this. You can endlessly browse on the IKEA website because of how they move you around. So I would recommend you to check that out. But that's what this idea essentially means. Okay, this is another very interesting one. Normally, we also have a personalization tool. And when we are implementing that for our customers, they have this laundry list of ideas that they want to implement. Essentially, hey, can we run bestsellers, everything that's on sale, and the best, most compatible products? So they want to kind of recommend everything to the customer. Okay, I'll give you a counter-intuitive kind of experience there. Just why don't you imagine yourself standing in Best Buy looking at all the phones that are available, and let's say you have a $500 or $600 budget, and you want to buy a phone. Okay, this is for your friend. And now you're looking at all of these options. And then the sales guy comes along and says, hey, here are the 5 phones that I think you can choose from. They are not making your life easy. Versus somebody else comes along and I say, hey, here is this phone. It's called the Samsung something. And I think it's the exact thing you're looking for. It has a great screen. It has a nice battery. Plus, we are running a 20% off on it just today. You wouldn't consider 5 other options. Your decision was just made easy. So the number one advice, if you want to take one thing away, stop recommending 10, 20, 15 products to your customers. Recommend just one and make it a good recommendation. Make it your fastest moving, most easy to be bought, high converting product, and you are in a solid space automatically. Okay. Moving further, this is again a really big one. What we saw with our clients' data is people were traversing, back and forth on the site. right? So there is vertical traversal and horizontal traversal, which means people are going category product, or home, category product, back to home, and so on. And that's because we then, we actually were puzzled on why that's happening. We analyzed, and then we figured out when we put the stock data next to the customer bounce rate data for pages, the highest bounces in the website. So we analyzed data for people bouncing away from the product pages, but they were not bouncing out of the site. They were going to some other page. And then we matched that to out of stock. It was pretty simple. There was no way for the customer to know on the category page if something is in stock or not. So they were just moving back and forth. So that learning was pretty big for us. Now, the biggest advice I can give you is make sure that they know that before they even enter the page. And make it very, very obvious. Don't just have like the standard Shopify out of stock text. Your CTA needs to change. So there has to be a smarter way in which you implement it. And okay, so before I talk about the next idea, we've actually written a very detailed blog about revamping or redesigning e-commerce sites. If you were to ever ask me on a non-recorded call, I will never ask anybody to revamp their site as a solution to making it conversion friendly. I can fundamentally tell you that, of course, if it's broken to the point where the load time is crap and it's just bad code, you're set up on a custom platform, and every time you want to change something, you have to call a guy in Bangladesh. I am sorry for you. So you have to move to a SaaS solution or kind of figure out what's better for you. But generally, when I give a lot of advice to people, they instantly think, oh shit, you know what? My site is really not that nice. And I might need to move on to something else. And I strongly advise you against that. Unless you have, in fact, we have a client. I'm not sure if we have that client joining us today. But this gentleman went and re-platformed themselves on their own over a period of 2 weeks, and he built the entire site on his own. And it's incredible what he's done. And he's not a techie. He's just a really smart guy. But generally speaking, for them, it was pretty clear because their older site was slow. There was a huge reason for them to actually go through that re-platform. So generally speaking, refrain from doing that. You will lose SEO ranking. Your conversion rate would not instantly get better. You will have a lot of SEO related errors because your URLs will change. So you have to wait for Google to come back and crawl with you again, kind of do that. So there are a lot of downsides. So there's a huge blog we've written about it. We'll send that to everybody who's attending the webinar. So this is again very simple. Offer filtering to hide unavailable products. Make it very easy. It's a very, very simple advice. We just wanted to bring it in because you'd be surprised how many people don't do that. Offer multiple criteria. Sorting also makes sorting easy. Normally, when sorting is offered, it's tucked away in the same place for every website, which is the top right corner of the category page. But after your customers have scrolled down all the way at the bottom, don't see this is 166 results on the category page. And there are 2 in a row. So it's 80 rows down. So let's say I go halfway through, 40 rows down, and I want to sort because I've seen products across different age, price ranges. To sort, I'll have to come back up all the way. So your sort also should be sticky, which means when they scroll, the sort option can stick around at the top, and they should be able to stop. If they hit that, you scroll them back at the top, and they can see the low to high pricing or whatever it is that they chose. Or if you have like really well-off customers, they'll probably sort high to low, but I don't know how many people who want to do that. It of course depends on the brand and the industry and what you're selling. Breadcrumbs. I think this is a blast from the past. I don't know why e-commerce companies have decided this is not a good idea. It's actually a phenomenal idea. It's going to make navigation easy. So your highest intent customers, and especially customers that are, more aware in terms of, older web experiences, slightly high, more, in the later part of their life, rather. They engage with the breadcrumbs all the time. It also has amazing SEO value, and if you make it prominent, it becomes a navigation plus. So I just I'm just very significantly, convinced about this. I'm just going to take care of the chat here. Give me one moment so that I don't have that distraction. Okay, perfect. All right. Moving on. So, okay, this is another interesting thing. So this is a quick hack. Although I'm not a fan of the word hack, but it's a very quick one. When we ask people to make changes to a product page, they feel they need to go through the developer, find a theme.liquid guy and can take care of that. Not needed. The one thing that's in your control is images. And if you have a gallery of images, product images on your page, that's something you can endlessly customize. So please play around with that and make sure that you're using it smartly. In this case, for example, the trust seals are smartly added to the image. So you don't really need to go and design and figure out how to add it. It's just really, really simple. It's done. We recommend doing this for product dimensions. If you have some really next level testimonials, you could do it there. Also on the mobile, then these trust seals are not going to be tucked away in some corner. They are front and center exactly where you want them to be. So this is another hard one. It's actually, I left it in, I did not intend to, but in this case, you can, because of the kind of product it is and the value that it is, you can see the product in several different ways. You can see it in AR. You can see it in 360 degrees. So there are many ways in which you can see it. I strongly recommend you to do this if it is relevant to the brand you are. For example, there is this really simple $20, $30 tool that allows you to do a spectacle, a try-on for specs and goggles, and you can just plug it into your site and you're done. So if you're selling eyewear, the eyewear try-on has become a SaaS tool, and it's really simple. It's really cheap. It's not expensive. And your highest intent customers would love to try on spec, eyewear. So they're trying their best. The SaaS universe is trying its best to offer point solutions and solve these things for us. So in this case, again, very simple example, this is the kind of the opposite of what I said. I said recommend one. In this case, recommend, but recommend relevant. So in this case, what could you style something you're buying with? Very simple example. I'm sure all of us have seen this in several places. The one thing that I can recommend you to do here differently is you could actually rely on an algorithm to do this, but I want to advise against it for a second. You are the proper owner of the brand. We work with this Australian company that does amazing dresses for women. Their repeat rates are incredible. And generally speaking, the founder has a fan following and their dresses are amazing. And in their case, the recommendations, they don't let us run the personalization basis data. So, it's counterintuitive, but it works. Why? Because the lady knows exactly what people will like if they were looking at something. Also, her dresses are, they're bespoke, so they run out of stock a lot. So they want to make sure that the recommendations people are seeing when they looked at a pink dress and they want a summary dress, the recommendation does not need to be other pink dresses. It needs to be the kind of style that the dress is. So I just think that sometimes, doing it the old school way, manual suggestions showing up on product pages, there's no harm in doing that. Chat is I think going into 2024, I can just tell you that with all of the AI and everything else that's around us now, they're trying to make us wear goggles so that we don't even see the reality anymore, if you know what I mean, and also take money, $3,500 to be able to do that. I don't think there's a replacement to talking to a real human if your product value is high, or if your product is something that is for personal consumption or can warrant questions from the people. So I would recommend having chat. We have a vendor, for example, partner that does chat extremely well. So I'd be happy to connect you to them. But there are 2 points I'm trying to make. One is consider chat. It's underrated. And second is position it well. I see a lot of cases where chat is like, it's just parked in the corner on top of the add to cart button, or just 3 or 4 buttons floating, one pop up on the left side, chat on the right side, some recently viewed coming from the bot. So there's just too much happening. So just find a nice place where you can park it and then thoroughly test it across category, product, and other pages so that it's not interfering with the overall experience. I'm just going to take a pause. I hope my speed is okay. I know a few more people have joined us since I started. So I hope I'm okay. Just please interrupt me, put it in the chat, and I hope I'm able to add value. So you're all here. I'm guessing I am able to add value. We'll see. So scroll is a very natural experience to mobile. I strongly recommend having scroll in the horizontal sense. So this is another very simple example of that. It's a widget. Yeah, so this is another interesting one. So in this case, what's happening is after I've added a product to cart, instead of having the people go, the customer kind of go to the cart or do anything like that, we A/B tested this for a bunch of clients, and 70% of the cases it was working. 30% it actually had negative results because their customers were likely to keep browsing before they conclude the purchase. But in this case, what's happening is I added the second product to cart. So now my cart has two items, and it shows a pop-up saying, do you want to proceed to checkout or do you want to continue shopping? And within checkout as well, there's GPay and PayPal. So it's one click. So you've skipped a lot of different steps for the customer. So you've skipped the cart, going and doing a lot of information filling and all of those things, right? So you've just made life a lot easier for them. Then the next one is removing products. So this is actually let me put it this way. Every sale is important, right? Every single transaction that comes to the site is important. So this is the fastest, simplest way to lose those 5 or 6 sales probably. Because what happens is if the customer accidentally, so, we have seen this happening where you go to the cart page, you hit the trash can button next to the product by mistake, by error, because it's a touch screen at the end of the day, right? I hit it and the product's gone. So now I, on my phone, have made it that far in the experience and I've lost the product. So have that check where you're able to ask the customer if they really wanted to remove the product from the cart or not. Okay, think about it. I think it's a very important one if you're not doing that already. The other thing that we've seen is showing order summary. So I'll tell you where these two advices are actually coming from. After we're done with the webinar, go to Amazon, add something to cart, go to checkout, and then try going back to the cart. You'll not be able to do that. They don't even let you click the Amazon logo. So there is no way from the Amazon checkout that you can go back to the cart page except for hitting the back button thrice or twice. So even Amazon knows that once the user has made the decision of what they want, which is they have added something to cart and they're moving further, don't distract them. There should be no reason for them to go back and forth, which is also why Amazon's checkout is some of the most informative checkouts you will see. It says everything you need to know. It talks about where it will get shipped, how it will get shipped, the time it will take, the different options you have, the price of the product, the taxes, shipping, is there any, if there's any Amazon Pay balance you have. It is the most informative checkout available out there. And unlike Shopify, for example, where in checkout, it almost always says that shipping is calculated to the next step. So you are essentially putting your customer in a position of discomfort with regards to the information that you're making available to them. And then you've got, so what we're saying here is the order summary. I should not have to go back to the cart to see why I'm spending or what I'm spending this $17.25 on. That's something very simple. Have an order summary in the checkout page. If you can't customize your checkout and you're set up on Shopify, I can't help you. But actually, Shopify already has a default way of doing this. So I would recommend you to please activate that. If you don't have it, please find a way to do it. Upgrades and upsells. This is an A/B test we've run several times where once we started with the customer, they were already running some kind of upsell or cross-sell on their cart. And we said, hey, have you ever tested this? Have you ever experimented with this? No, we've really not done it. We just, looked at an app, we installed it, and that's it. And I saw that my AOV has gone up. But how has it affected conversions? Not sure. So the simple advice I have for you here is no need to kind of stop doing it, but at least do it for only the low value, really simple products. Also, even in this example, I would add more context. For example, the collagen peptide sample or the instant, coffee halo creamer sample. I would need more context for what I'm adding for $2 even, right? Because this means that the customer already knows what this product is and they'll probably just want to try it. That's the assumption this pop-up is making at the moment. But that might not be true. So this is a very simple advice. Normally, when there is an error on the form, the customer is force scrolled to the top and shown you've missed some details, please go and add them. In this case, you're just making it simple. You're saying, hey, you missed 3 things and here are the 3 things you've missed. It's a very simple change, but it makes the experience a lot less painful. What we're trying to do with the mobile experience is reduce pain. Because mobile is painful as it is. It's not painful, but it's that a large part of your customers are So there are two kinds of audiences. Let me just kind of break this down for you. So you've got the mobile first generation. That's the kids. I can't believe I'm able to say kids, but and not kind of, and I feel old when I say that. But there are people who are born on the cell phone. They were literally born with the cell phone in their hand. So for them, this experience is native, and they might be able to kind of excuse you for a few experience oopsies. But that's not true for everyone. Point number one. Second, even for the people who are mobile natives, as I'd like to put it, they are the ones with the least amount of attention span, least patience, and the most amount of dopamine rushing through them in a day. So in their case as well, you want to make sure that if there's an oopsie, it's not like you're making it hard for them to correct it in the journey. So that's what we're trying to really say. So for your cart as well. So in this case, this is extremely subtle and very simple. If you see what's happening here is the order summary is visible to me. I can move further and pay now, but I've scrolled down and I have testimonials and I have these trust seals that are running consistently as I go through the experience. I'm telling you that it might look a certain way, but these are things your mind can see, but your eyes sometimes miss them. But it really helps creating trust, undoubtedly. And then the final advice, which is connected to the Amazon piece that I already mentioned, is don't give your customers a way to go back from checkout on phone. The thing is that with phones, this is very, very likely to happen because the amount of information they are seeing at a given period of time is less, which means to consume more information, they will traverse back and forth. And you have to make sure you do two things. One, you provide them all the information they need on each screen. So their checkout screen should have the order summary, the amount, shipping, everything else that it needs to have. The first thing you need to do, as I said, is provide them with that information. The second is stop them from moving back and forth because you have only a few seconds. Now, I invite you to go and check the time on site, the session duration that is, and the number of pages viewed on mobile for your customers versus desktop. There's a world of a difference, and that is the reason because desktop has so much information that the user really speaking has enough to make a decision and the experience is more immersive. So those are the 31 ideas that we wanted to kind of walk you through. I hope they were useful. I'm going to pause now and kind of conclude with the fact that AI, I don't know, VR, AR, all of that is going to continue to happen. The world is not going to change. When Metaverse was announced, I remember people completely, I remember people doing verbal somersaults with how the world is going to change. We're still here optimizing the site experience with A/B tests. And I'm telling you, 2024 is going to be an amazing year for e-commerce. I hope the economy all over the world gets better. But yeah, so that's what we wanted to cover. I'm happy to take any questions you might have. Please put them in the chat. There's also a Q&A section. I'm going to wait for about 3 to 4 minutes for you to type in the questions you might have. They could be specific to your business as well. And if you want to DM me the question, I'm happy to take that as well. As an aside, folks, as I said, we run very thorough tear downs of your site experience. We're happy to do that for you. Also, ConvertCart has been running our Engage product, which is our email marketing product for a long time. And we are wildly successful with it. I am you could say, I'm a convert from who even opens emails to, we are driving about, across the 110 or so customers we are running email marketing for, we are driving upwards of 25% of their revenue on email alone. So it's really underrated what one can achieve with email. So just we're happy to audit your email strategy as well as your Klaviyo or whatever setup as well. So yeah, we'll just wait for questions. I know there are a bunch of people still on the call. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or in the Q&A section. Are there any budget or beginner tools? Dimitri, it would really depend on your traffic and your volume of conversions, whether you can run, A/B tests or not. Because even if you want to run A/B tests, but you don't have the volume of traffic or the conversion rate, your results might not be statistically significant, and that would be a problem. So I'm happy to take a look at your site and then recommend something. There are entry-level A/B testing tools like A/B Tasty, and there are a couple more. But yeah, I would be cautious before you set up an AD test so that your volume is enough for you to set up one. We don't have a YT channel, but we have a very, very detailed blog where we cover a very wide range of topics about e-commerce, growth, and email marketing, all three things. So I strongly recommend checking that out. We are extremely proud of the work we've done over the last few years, building an amazing, very in-depth content repository. I think you will learn a lot from that for sure. I do. But the YT channel is a good idea. Actually, a couple of our customers also recommended that we should run a YT channel because they were regulars on the webinar and they found a lot of value in it. So, any other questions, folks? Yep. There you go. The most recent one is really interesting. You should check it out. Easy is like my middle name. All right, folks. I think we don't. Dimitri, do you have any other questions? I love that you're so tuned into the webinar. I don't know why we have a lot of other spectators continuing to look at us answer questions, but it's interesting. Okay, I think we'll conclude. Thanks so much for your time, folks.